Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Hello. Welcome to this evening's live streaming on Lamin Tamba Sawas Bantaba Kacha. Thank you very much. Let's have a look. So give me 1 second. Let me set this up, share the video, share the live stream. I would appreciate it if you can share this word, let people know that what we're going to share today is part of our responsibility as Gambian citizens to try and resolve the issue that is plaguing our republic right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's live stream. I appreciate the time you've taken to come and watch me discuss the former president's bill. Thank you very much. So, first and foremost, let me set this up because I don't think things have been set up properly. Give us a second. I believe this is better. Yes, this should be much better. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I want to discuss the ongoing events in the Republic of the Gambia. And one of those upcoming events is a very controversial act that has been passed or amended, I should say, to be precise. I do not want to sound like the injustice minister of the Republic of the Gambia. Please share the stream. This is very important, especially for the Gambian opposition. This stream is very, very important. As you know, I don't monopolize knowledge. I do not mislead people. I don't intend to do that at any time in my life. I don't intend to lie to people. Now, my politics is meant to be clean, meant to be honest, meant to be transparent. And if you can't do that as African people, forget about Gambia for 1 minute. Let's look at Africa in general. If we cannot be honest to ourselves, we cannot speak the truth. We cannot have principles. There's not much we can do to expedite the developments of our countries. Regardless of what country you come from, if the people are not honest, people don't look each other in the eye and tell them the truth, we will not advance. Our society will continue to lag behind. All right. So, first and foremost, without waffling too much, now in 2005, year 2005, the former president of the Republic of the Gambia, President Yahya Jammeh, under the APRC government, which he ran from 1997 January to January 2017. So 20 years of APRC, democratically elected president. When he realized that the former president, the president that he replaced, President Dawda Kairaba Jawara, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, when President Jammeh found out that it was fit and proper to return President Jawara to the Republic of the Gambia, he thought about ways and means of creating his return and the potential positive impact it will have on the Gambian population and the governance of Gambia and Africa at large. So he set about enacting a law, an act of parliament, that would make everything that the Gambia government or he, President Jammeh, everything that he wanted to offer President Jawara upon his return, how was he going to do it legally without having to contravene any of the existing laws in the Republic of the Gambia? So President Jammeh set about creating an act that would cater for President Jawara's needs. So President Jawara was the first president of the Republic of the Gambia after independence in 1965. So he became our first president, from first minister to prime minister to president. On the 22nd of July 1994, President Jawara was overthrown by President Jammeh. So President Jammeh ran the Republic of the Gambia from 22nd July 1994 as a military ruler, the chairman of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council. by January 1997, President Jammeh was sworn in as a democratically elected president of the Republic of the Gambia, having won the elections 3-4 months prior. I believe it was in October 1996 when he won the election, or thereabouts. Now, President Jammeh deemed it fitting, necessary, proper, statesmanly to allow President Jawara to return from exile in the United Kingdom, where he lived in pretty uncomfortable conditions in the United Kingdom. I mean, that story is well documented. I don't want to go through that because that will be detracting me from the main topic, which is an act of parliament called the Former Preidents Act 2006. So by 2005, President Jawara's return to the Gambia was almost set, and President Jammeh made it legal for President Jawara to live in the Gambia to benefit from state resources in terms of his security, his movement, and his other allowances, so that President Jawara can live comfortably in the Republic of the Gambia, thanks to the courtesy accorded to him by the National Assembly of the Gambia, via an act or a bill that was introduced to the National Assembly of the Gambia by the executive at the time. And the head of the executive at the time was President Jammeh. So therefore, this act was called Former Presidents Act. And I'm going to read it verbatim from start to finish so that you know what the act in 2006 stated, which was more than adequate for a former head of state, for a former president. Now, before I start reading it, it is right for me to explain to the viewers, people who are listening to me live, that once you're a head of state, whether you like it or not, whether people support you or not, when you leave office, you're going to require security until your last breath that you take on earth. Sometimes not even that. Even your grave has to be secured for God knows how long. All right. So that comes with the territory. You become a head of state, you're a target. People want to do everything to you, everything possible, until those generations of people who felt hurt by whatever you did suddenly disappear, or their bitterness towards that person fades. Now, that's the world over. Once you become president or prime minister, you benefit from security, you benefit from a lot of state privileges after leaving office. Gambia is not unique. President Jawara was not unique. President Jammeh wouldn't be unique. President Adama Barrow, won't be unique. I don't support Adama Barrow. I don't like him because I know he's absolutely worthless. And I think what the France 24 television station said to him, that he was an accidental president, was actually a true description of this man. Will he change? The jury's out. Will he improve? Evidently not. However, despite my dislike for the gentleman, for his lack of ability to run the Republic of the Gambia, for his sheer incompetence, one has to accept that the law is the law. And Adama Barrow and his people, when they came to power in 2017, didn't want to accept constitutional provisions that were set to protect ex-presidents and serving presidents. So Barrow himself set the precedents for people to violate the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. And number two, set the precedents that when he leaves office, whoever succeeds him, if that person is not an avid believer in law, if that person is not strong in condemnation of deliberate contraventions of our constitutional provisions, if that person is not an upright person, straight up front, now that person could do exactly what Adama Barrow did to President Jammeh. By that I meant Section 69 of the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, 1997, clearly states, it set provisions and stated that the military junta from 22nd July 1994 to the 19th of January 1997. So from the 22nd of July 1996 or 1994, why am I making mistakes about dates? But anyway, that's the military junta. So the military junta from 22nd July 1994 to the 19th of January 1997, Schedule 2, paragraph 13, so paragraphs 1 to 5, stated categorically clear that nothing that the military junta did or didn't do while in office should be subject to commissions of inquiry or legal proceedings. Legal proceedings and commissions of inquiry. Adama Barrow's government did anything but. They violated Schedule 2, paragraph 13, subparagraphs 1 to 5. Totally violated them. Section 69 of the same 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia set grounds for immunity for ex and serving presidents. Adama Barrow and his people ignored those constitutional provisions. Former Presidents Act 2006 set out the benefits that President Jammeh should have been benefiting from today as I speak to you. Today is the 3rd of November, 2023. The Former Presidents Act 2006 set the privileges and allowances that a former head of state should benefit from. President Jammeh accorded those benefits to President Jawara, his predecessor, without problems. As soon as Jawara came back, in fact, President Jammeh set the foundation for Jawara's return. He initiated the talks. He sympathized with the condition in which President Jawara was reportedly living in the United Kingdom. An elderly African statesman shouldn't live in that condition at any time, regardless of what allegations were sitting right over their shoulders. Whatever allegations were leveled against them, you can stay them in your own country and take them through the legal process. The act was there to ensure that President Jawara benefited from the privileges of being an ex-head of state. He was given back his property by the riverside or the Atlantic Ocean or the mouth of River Gambia in Fajara. He was given security, he was given vehicles, he was given the diplomatic passport to represent Gambia and the African continent on many global stages. That was the pedestal President Jammeh stood President Jawara on, because he understood that there was no better place than home. And when he returned President Jawara, he couldn't have put him in any other house other than one that matched his status. Now, Adama Barrow is not prepared to do that. No, he's not even talking about it. He's not interested in it. Now, even if you don't want President Jammeh to come back and you're putting roadblocks in place to stop President Jammeh's return to the Republic of the Gambia, one would expect that with the Former Presidents Act 2006, that Adama Barrow would at least be paying those benefits to President Jammeh, or at least the Justice Minister should come out and say, yes, the recommendations of the TRRC were that President Jammeh would be prosecuted. And the white paper upheld those recommendations. And therefore, we were going to set legal proceedings against President Jammeh and charge him. Now, Gambia's Justice Minister, for the love of God, doesn't speak like a justice minister, doesn't speak like somebody who's got a legal background, which actually frightens me, because that is an indication that these people don't actually know what they're doing, but they actually are skilled at defrauding the Gambian population. They're skilled at misleading the Gambian population. They're skilled at basically jangling the nerves of Gambian people, jangling the emotional fibers of the Gambian people. They are absolutely adept at setting people at loggerheads. That's what they do. That's what they're skilled at. Now, Gambia's Justice Minister, for the love of God, I haven't practiced law as you did. I was only a trainee solicitor for about 14 months part-time. All right. I've got a background in academic law. Now, the Gambia's justice minister went to parliament and said that President Jammeh was a wanted man. I'll come to that somewhere down the line. Let me read the Former Presidents Act 2006 in its raw form before Adama Barrow came and overloaded it with luxuries that he's setting up for himself after his retirement or after Gambian people remove him from office in 2026, if we get to 2026 without removing this fella in the first place. All right. So now, before I talk about Justice Minister's illegal language, poor choice of words, totally illegal explanation of why President Jammeh might not benefit from this act without even giving President Jammeh the opportunity to defend himself, without even giving President Jammeh the benefit of the fact that President Jammeh is innocent until proven guilty. Now, what does the Former Presidents Act 2006 say? Give me a second. I'll read it verbatim, and I'll explain it to you. I'll break it down to you so that people who don't have a background in law or do not understand legal context, I will break down this act for you. I'll also give you a comparison of this act, which was set out just for the general welfare of a head of state that every other head of state the world over benefits from after leaving office. Now, I also heard the Justice Minister mention something that President Jammeh might not benefit from this because of XYZ. I will explain to you at which point pension benefits and allowances are forfeited or garnished from their beneficiaries. All right. The Justice Minister of the Gambia either is clueless or is deliberately doing what I mentioned earlier, that they are experts at misleading the Gambian public and the global community. Gambia's Justice Minister has got a PhD in misleading the Gambian people. Adama Barrow is the same. Adama Barrow's government is full of people who basically contradict each other in public or come up knowing fully well that they're lying to the public. They'll come and tell us stuff that doesn't actually exist, or they contradict each other on a consistent basis. So now, without further ado, let me read this so that we can all hear it for ourselves, what the Former Presidents Act 2006 entails. And then I'll come to the fact that until a certain stage of this whole President Jammeh is wanted thing, which doesn't exist, President Jammeh should actually be benefiting from these ex-presidents' schedules and privileges that have been mentioned herein. Okay, so 1 second, let me open this document and I can read it word for word so that we can all be in the clear. I do not monopolize knowledge. I share my knowledge. I like explaining things so that people can understand. As I said to you, my politics has always been clean. My discourse with Gambian people or any other person has always been transparent, has been clean, has been simplified so that everybody can get exactly what is being explained or exactly what the truth is. I have no penchant for misleading people. I don't do that. I don't engage in any of that kind of stuff. Okay, so now it says from the beginning, chapter 36, 13. Okay, so that's probably paragraph 13 is referring to. All right, so it says Former Presidents, in brackets, Office Allowances and Other Benefits Act 2006. This is what it says. So Adama Barrow, Fabakary Tombong Jatta, Sidin Jai did not create anything new. Dawda Jallow didn't create anything new. This act already existed, but it created bare skeletons of what an ex-president should benefit from. It's not as luxurious as the beef, the steak that Adama Barrow, and the wine and the party government, all the party poppers that Adama Barrow has added in so that he and his two wives can live in luxury for the rest of their lives and 6 months after they died. All right. But let me read this completely before I start breaking it down. So, okay. Former Presidents in brackets Office Allowances and Other Benefits Act. An act to establish an office and provide for all allowances and other benefits for former presidents and for connected matters. Act number 16 of 2006. Date of commencement 5th February 2007. So that's when this law came into effect, on the 5th of February 2007. And the former president, may his soul rest in peace, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, is one of the benefactors of this act. Okay, so number one, it says short title. The act may be cited as the Former President's Office Allowances and Other Benefits Act. Interpretation. In this act, unless the context otherwise requires, former president means a person who has held the office of President of the Republic of the Gambia for not less than 2 terms. All right? Not less than 2 terms. Number 3, establishment of office of former president. There is hereby established an office of former president. Number 4, allowances and other benefits. 1, subject to subsection 2, a former president shall A, be paid a monthly allowance of $50,000 and B, enjoy the benefits set out in the schedule. Number 2, that number 2 is referring to is a subsection of allowances and other benefits. So number 2, number 1 of those allowance and benefits says be paid a monthly allowance of $50,000. Enjoy the benefits set out in the schedule. Point 2 of the benefits, a president who ceased to hold office under Section 67 of the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. And I'll go to Section 67 and 68 and let you know what it says. Because what the Constitution does, it gives you the framework, and then secondary legislation will be enacted to beef up that section of the Constitution. So the Constitution doesn't actually beef up its own sections. Subsequent acts of parliament will be passed to explain in detail what those sections of the Constitution state. So Section 67 and 68, if I remember correctly, yes, 67 and 68 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia set out the office of the former president. But this act, the Former Preidents Act 2006, sets out what needs to be accorded to former presidents in detail. All right. So now, part 2, it says the president who ceased to hold office under Section 67 of the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, 1997, is not entitled to the allowances and benefits provided for a former president under this act. Yeah? So I'll tell you what Section 67 said. Very important, because some of the clauses in there will disqualify somebody from benefiting from these allowances. All right? Okay, so now, number 5, duration of allowances and benefits. So how long will these allowances and benefits of a former president last? It says, that's number 5, the allowances and other benefits provided for a former president under this act shall be paid by the government of the Gambia during the lifetime of the former president, from the date of his or her leaving the office of president. So President Jammeh left on the 21st or 22nd of January. The payment of his allowances and benefits and $50,000 per month should have started a month after that. So they pay your salaries in arrears. What that means is that you start work today. They don't pay you your monthly salary today. You work for a month, then at the end of that month, then they start paying you your salary. So President Jammeh, from the 21st of February 2017, should have started receiving his $50,000 a month into his account. We'll see what other benefits are there, right? So right now, put your mind on that $50,000 a month, because he served more than 2 terms, so he's entitled to the full whack of these benefits. Regardless of what allegations have been leveled against him, he's entitled to this until the day he's actually convicted by a competent law court. So I'll go back to number 5. It says duration of allowances and benefits. The allowances and other benefits provided for a former president under this act shall be paid for by the government of the Gambia during the lifetime of the president from the date of his or her leaving the office of president. Number 6, budget allocation. The funds required to meet the expenditure of the government under this act shall be provided for in the annual budget. So this amount that is supposed to be paid to the former president should be budgeted annually. Now, the schedule where it sets out where all this payment goes, who needs to be paid, what needs to be done, is here. Remember, I mentioned the schedule earlier, and it said you look at the schedule and then you know what needs to be done by the government. So, the schedule, section 4, benefits for former presidents. This is the 2006 Act. I haven't come to the amendments yet that Adama Barrow has put on top of it. So, personal staff, it says, a former president shall enjoy the benefits set out in the schedule. Number 1, personal staff. A personal assistant to be selected by the former president. Number 2, a personal secretary to be selected by the former president. Those are 2 subsections of personal staff. Now, the next main section, security. 24-hour security service, that's a given. That happens to every other former president. All right? You have to provide security for them forever, basically. Even when they die, you have to make sure their graves are not tampered by haters or people who want to do some work of iniquity. Yeah? Because we're from Africa, we hear all sorts of stories. So that's the responsibility of the government forever. Number 3, number 3, vehicles. 3 motor vehicles to be maintained and fueled by the state. That's sub number 1. Sub number 2, the driver shall be selected by the former president. That's sub number 2 of number 3, where it says vehicles. The main numbers, number 4, protocol, diplomatic passport for life. Understandably, they will go on election observer missions. They can go and represent the state. They might be invited to different places, and you don't want them to go on normal queues because a hater can just stab them and kill them, all right, or shoot them and kill them. That's understandable. Happens to every other head of state. It's not a luxury. These things happen. We have to accept it. That comes with the territory. Those are the benefits of becoming a head of state. So, sub number 2 of number 4, protocol within and outside the Gambia. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, you can't have them going and queuing up with other people for obvious reasons. Sub number 3 of number 4, where we're still on the protocol section. Former president shall take first place after the vice president in order of precedence at public events. Understandably, that's what President Jammeh did to Jawara. Jawara was always next to him before his wives and other dignitaries. All right? Or before the vice president. Understandably. Okay, so if you're going to take over from Barrow, if it's not President Jammeh taking over from him, President Jawara can't because he's a pastor, unfortunately. But whoever the next president is, if it's not President Jammeh, you'll have to have another protocol of who's going to come close to you, or maybe you'll have Barrow and President Jammeh flanking you on both, one on the right, one on the left, before your wives and other dignitaries, or before the vice president. All right? That, again, comes with the territory. Unfortunately, at public events, you expect those things to happen. So, now, we go to the next section, main section, number 5, medical services and vacation. This act says, number 1, free medical treatment for the former president and his or her spouse within and where necessary outside the Gambia on the recommendation of the Director of Health Services in the Department of State for Health and Social Welfare. All right? So that's fine. That's for the president, former president. It's not talking about their wives. It's not talking about other people yet. Just pay attention. I'll come to that. Okay? That's subsection 1 of number 5, medical service and vacation. Subsection 2, 30 working days annual vacation for the president and his or her spouse within and outside the Gambia at a location to be selected by the former president. Okay, so that's there. Where vacation is to be taken outside the Gambia, the government shall be responsible for the air tickets and payment of the appropriate per diem allowances for the former president and his or her spouse. All right? His or her spouse. It didn't put plurally, one person. So if you have 2, 3, 4, 5 wives, I feel sorry for you as an ex-president. And the former president, before President Jammeh, had 2 wives. President Jammeh had 1 wife. Well, rumor is that he had 2 wives, but at least one of them we know about publicly. Okay. So the main section, another main section, office accommodation. A well-furnished and equipped office, and subsection A of number 6, not more than 4 staff, including the personal assistant and personal secretary. A motor vehicle to be maintained and fueled. A motor vehicle to be maintained and fueled. So that's been repeated twice. So that's the main section, office and accommodation. So the last section is maintenance of residential accommodation. The residential accommodation of the former president shall be maintained and provided with telephone, internet, and other facilities, and the following: A, 2 cooks; B, 4 housekeepers; C, 2 gardeners. So that's 2006 Act, former presidents. All right, I'll break it down in a minute. I just want to read to you what the new benefits are that have been added to the previous one. So $50,000 a month. That's not unreasonable as far as I'm concerned. That's not unreasonable. All these benefits that have been listed here are quite moderate. Yes, they're quite moderate if you think about what other countries give to their former presidents. So this is not exorbitant. All right. It's not exorbitant at all. It's not extortionate in my view. Former heads of states will get these sort of benefits. All right. So, and I'll come to the reason why I think the Justice Minister of the Gambia needs to be honest with Gambian people. But let me go to the new one, the new act, and I'll read the new benefits so that we can look at where the differences are. All right. So the stuff that's been added to the new act. But let me read the new benefits first that people are talking about, and we can see the similarities and differences. First and foremost, the new one, amendment, 2023 amendment of the Former Preidents Act. An office that will be furnished and equipped to the standard of cabinet level. Now, look at the opulence, the unreasonableness, the pomp and ceremony that Barrow and his wives want to live after leaving office. All right? This is what they want, lifestyle they want to live after leaving office. You watch. First one, cabinet level. Yeah? They want their office to look like a cabinet level office. This is why I don't think Barrow has got any sympathy for Gambian people. An office that will be furnished and equipped. So number one, an office that will be furnished and equipped to the standard of cabinet level with not less than 4 staff, including a personal assistant and personal secretary. So they're all talking about 4 staff as it was in the 2006 Act. But the 2006 Act did say up to cabinet level. That's another level of opulence. All right. So number 2, a fully furnished residence, including utilities and other facilities for his comfort. If he decides to reside in his own residence, the government shall maintain the residence and provide it with telephone, internet, and other facilities. He will also be provided with 2 cooks, 4 housekeepers, and 2 gardeners, and such personnel shall be selected by him. So that's quite similar to 2006. No major differences. Number 3, a non-taxable lump sum gratuity in a sum equal to 6 months of his gross salary last received while in office. A non-taxable lump sum gratuity. Yeah, lump sum gratuity. Equal to 6 months of his gross salary last received while he was in office. So Barrow is on $375,000 right now, a lump sum of 6 months to be paid to him as gratuity. All right, that's not even part of his monthly salary or other allowances. Gratuity is not a salary. All right, so that's 6 months of it he's going to have. So if you multiply 400,000 by 6, you got 2.4 million roughly. So he's going to get between 2 and 2.4 million dollars just for being kicked out of office in 2026 or before it. All right, that's what he's going to do. This is not something we have in the 2006 Act. This is why I said Barrow has got no sympathy. His empathy levels are minus 100. He's going to have 2 to 2.4 million because he's going to increase his salary again. By the time he left office, maybe his salary will go up. His salary has gone up 2 to 3 times already since he came to power in 2017. So we might end up paying him 500,000 a month. In which case, 6 months gratuity, we multiply that's 3 million cool, he's going to go away with. Then he'll have his benefits. Then he'll have other things. Then he can fly to places with his wives. Then his wives, he wants his wives to also have the same benefits. And they're not GG employees. They will have security, fine. But the money we give to Barrow, that's the money he was supposed to distribute between him and his wife and his children. Security, yes. That's a surety, no doubt. But any other financial, pecuniary benefits are just extortionate. It's just defrauding the Gambian taxpayers. That's the problem I have. Okay? So now, number 4 of the new benefits or the amendments, all right? Maybe it's similar to the old act, but let's read it. We've already seen 2 major differences. The 2006 Act didn't ask for cabinet level furnishings of property. The 2006 didn't talk about gratuity lump sum of 6 months' salary at Barrow's time of leaving. We don't know what the final salary is going to be. For all you know, they'll bring another act to Parliament to increase his salary. So when he leaves, this man could easily walk away with $10 million of people's money in a country that's struggling so bad, the IMF had to bail us again with another $100 million. Okay? So number 4, diplomatic passports for him and his wives for life. Wives. Cool. Wives, fine. Diplomatic passport is not a major deal because if he travels with more than one wife, he has to pay for the second wife. That's what the MPs should have put in place. But anyway, that's not a problem. His wives can keep the diplomatic passports, no problem. I don't have any issues with that. Number 5, 3 new chauffeur-driven vehicles, including fuel, maintenance, tax, and insurance. Every 5 years, the vehicles will be replaced, same as the 2006. No problems. Number 6, an insurance cover for medical and dental treatment, including treatment abroad for him and his wives. It can't be wives, for God's sake. Has to be one. We can't look after somebody who's got 70 wives. If I want to be very corrupt, before I leave office, I can just go and marry 10 wives. Imagine how much money we can make if I go and marry 20 wives just 2-3 months before I leave office. Something has to give. There has to be caveats to this to stop abuse of power and abuse of authority. I can go and marry all my sisters and claim them to be my wives. I can go and marry all my aunts. Yeah, my nieces. Go and marry them so that they can benefit from these things just before I left office. This is open to abuse in every angle. This is what we're facing right now. Wives, wives, wives. Who knows? Barrow could be marrying another wife before he leaves office because this could suddenly become lucrative. He'll forget about his estate lettings agency. If this assets pass now, he can go and increase his salary. And this could be his luxury for the rest of life. The rest of his life. Can't have these things in plural. You have to have one wife. You travel with one wife. You can't have your wives traveling with you. You can't have them have every single thing else. Overseas treatment, 2 wives. You marry 10 wives, they'll all benefit from it. Number 7, a monthly pension of an amount equal to the monthly salary of his successor. Really? A monthly pension of an amount equal to the monthly salary of his successor. So when Barrow leaves, let's suppose Barrow leaves, and the next president is Mama Kande, and Mama Kande increases his salary to $1 million a month. Barrow's pension will go up. Who gets pension at exactly the same amount of salary that they were earning per month? I mean, how could this bill actually pass in our parliament? For what reason? Why? So, every time the salary of Barrow's successor in the next, if Barrow lives long and gets to 100 years, for the next 50 years, our salaries are not going to be the same because there'll be inflation. So our president might end up earning $1 million and Barrow's earnings will keep going up. That's what we've left ourselves open to. A monthly pension of amount equal to the monthly salary of his successor. Who in this world earns exactly the same amount every month for pension as they were when they were in office? Or the company that they just retired from, when the next chief executive comes, an increase in their salary will also amount to an increase on the pensioners that pension from that office. Who makes laws like this? Where on earth are you going to find anything of this nature? No, once you've left office, your pension at the time will be what the government paid towards your pension and your contributions towards that pension. It cannot be the same or be relative to your next successor or successors, or be the same as the salary you earned while you were in office. Because you're not working full time, there's no reason why you should be given a pension equal to the salary that you were getting when you were working full time. And Barrow is not even working now as he's in power. Number 8, 24/7 police protection for him and his wives for life. Yes. Whether you like Barrow or not, unfortunately, he's become a load for us. And he's huge. He's going to be a huge burden because the man has done nothing. He's put ourselves in so much problems. However, we know we can revise this bill, this act. We can revise it. It can be amended. And sense will be put on this act the day we see Barrow walk out of that office and will knock it right down. Hell yeah. We're not going to put up with that in a country where people are struggling to get paracetamol from their hospitals. In a country where Barrow's own constituency, the main hospital in Basse, people are sleeping on the same bed. Patients from different families sharing one bed. 3 of them, 2 to 3 patients sharing one bed. You go to hospital to cure one disease, you walk away from the hospital with other diseases that you didn't have when you walked into the hospital gate. Number 9, a state-funded 1-month annual vacation for him and his wives again. Yeah, wives, and 1 accompanying staff to a destination of his choice. Fine. Accompanying staff has to happen. In fact, he has to have a security detail wherever he goes. But not wives. 1 wife. Take 1 wife at a time. If you take half, you don't have to go for the whole month. You can go half the month, go with 1 wife, come back. Then the next 2 weeks later, 6 months later, go with another wife. You can't have wives. What we're paying you is more than generous for you to be able to share the cost of air tickets for your next 15 wives. It can't be unlimited. We can't even have 2 wives in this bracket. We have to have 1 wife. So it's up to him to choose which wife he's going to travel with. Number 10 and final one. His successor will also receive the same benefits and perks after leaving office. That's not up to you. You can't legislate for the future. You legislate for now. Maybe if the laws are not amended or repealed, yes, your successor will benefit from this. Whoever that successor is has got a massive job to do for Gambian people. And it can't be novices. It can't be a frail person. It can't be somebody who's going to come to office and learn how to run the office like Adam Barrow. Yes, nobody was born a president. Nobody's trained to become a president. But when you have institutional knowledge, knowledge of how public service runs, it makes a great deal, makes a massive difference to somebody who's just come from Musanjay and Sons or went to Aga Security and suddenly a letting agent, a poor letting agent in the Gambia, being pushed to a massive office, number one office in the country, and you expect him to excel. That's not going to happen. That was never going to happen and will not happen. But looking at Barrow now, he's increasingly becoming worse. He's getting worse and worse by the day. He's not improving. Normally, with people who've got potential, people who've got the desire to learn, they will learn pretty quickly on the job. You'll see noticeable improvement over a period of time. By now, after 6-7 years of being in power, Barrow should be someone that would look totally different, a shadow of his former self. Or his former self would be a shadow by now. He would be excelling. He'll be standing up on stage and talking to Gambian people about things that matter, the bread and butter issues that are affecting the Gambian population. This guy never does that. Adam Barrow never does that. Every time he turns up, in fact, he stopped his press conferences with the Gambian media after the first one was a disaster and the second one basically put a nail in his coffin. He stopped it. He doesn't discuss anything with Gambian public because he's afraid to discuss anything with Gambian people. So what he'll do is he'll have a one-to-one media interview with his sycophants. He'll have media interviews with his sycophants, and they'll just come and ask him questions that are palatable to his ear so that he can ramble about, he can waffle, he can yelp and yell and basically just have a dig at people. That's all this guy is good at. There's electricity crisis in the Gambia. There's water crisis in Gambia. There's medical crisis, environmental crisis. Food is a crisis. It's becoming a threat to the livelihoods of Gambian people. There's a shortage of everything. Telecommunications, you name it. Gambia ports, struggling big time. Our tourism sector, everything you can think of. So this is the problem we face. And now I'm going to go down to exactly what I think Adama Barrow is playing, the game he's playing with Gambian people, why this act came about, and how they intend to stop President Jammeh from benefiting from the luxuries that Adama Barrow has reserved for himself in case he leaves office abruptly or leaves office in the right manner in 2026. He set himself a huge benefits package. But I can also say to you now how pensions and allowances and benefits of this nature work. What they plan to do to President Jammeh, to deny him his benefits. All right? So now, I'll come and explain those things right now so that you can all understand. Okay? So I've basically demonstrated the difference there is between the 2006 Act and the 2023 amendment. It's a massive difference in terms of the implications, financial implications. Massive difference. Security arrangements are fine, no problems with that. But the financial amendments to this act in 2023 will leave Gambian people bitter. It has already made people angry. It's already started setting people at loggerheads. So now, what is Adama Barrow government's plan in terms of preventing President Jammeh from getting his benefits, his ex-presidents, former presidents, allowances and privileges, office, and other matters relating to it? What are their plans? Why did the government of the Gambia expedite this particular act instead of the other bills, anti-corruption bill, and several other pieces of legislation that they could have passed that would advance the lives and livelihoods of Gambian people? Why did they expedite this one? I'll tell you what. Now, let me put this bill away. I'll come to section 67 and 68 of the Gambian constitution, so I can also explain on what basis a head of state will not benefit from the former Presidents Act privileges, allowances, benefits, and other activities that are related to it. I'll come to that in a minute. But for now, Dawda Jallow, the Justice Minister of the Republic of the Gambia, sometimes he speaks in public as if this guy's never sat in a law school, never sat in a law classroom to start with. Now, he said President Jammeh is a wanted man, and therefore a wanted man may not benefit from pensions and gratuities and other things that they just amended to add to the 2006 Act. So what they've done now, President Jammeh should now get his back draw. They should pay him all the way back to the 21st of February 2017. Although the amendments will not be retrospective to say that President Jammeh will have a 6 months lump sum. No, the act that applied in 2017 is what President Jammeh should have benefited from. All right. But are they actually giving President Jammeh those benefits? The clear answer is no, they're not. In fact, they did the contrary. They have violated the constitution of the Gambia. But let's go back to the Justice Minister. I'll come to section 67 and 68 for you guys, and I'll read that again verbatim so that you guys can know exactly what it is. Do not allow Adama Barrow's people and the Gambia's injustice minister to mislead the public, to mislead the global community. We should not allow that, because that's what they set out to do, and we're here to put roadblocks between them and misinformation and disinformation and malinformation. We need to stop them. We can't stop it. People like me, as long as we're alive, fit, healthy, will be here to ensure none of those people in Barrow's government who have the desire to mislead Gambian people for their own financial and material gain. We're here to make sure that doesn't actually happen at any time, that the taxpayers are not left defrauded at the end of the working day. That's what we're here for. That's why we're genuine opposition. That's why I cannot support Adama Barrow. But all those people who are wailing now, jumping up and down because President Jammeh is going to benefit from these new amendments to the Constitution, these benefits were already there. They've just become more luxurious. Barrow has added much more pomp to it because Barrow has got no level, no limit when it comes to greed. Barrow and his people just came to office to serve themselves. This became evident since April 2017 when Adama Barrow, April, May, started sending his children to schools in the United States, started building a mansion for himself in Mankamankonda. Straight away, Adama Barrow increased his salaries. And in 2017, we were not hit with the inflation that came as a result of COVID. We were not hit by the inflation that came as a result of the special military operation in Ukraine. Why then did they increase his salaries twice before even COVID came? From 150,000 or 100,000 to 175,000 straight away to 200 and something thousand to 300 and something thousand that he's getting now, 375,000. So they're about 345. I can't remember the exact figure. This guy didn't come to alleviate the suffering of Gambian people. We all know that. I knew that from the beginning anyway. So when we were criticizing them and saying that these people came in hungry and angry, they said, oh, we were the enemies of progress, that we were butthurt, that we were not getting the free rice and the free meat that President Jammeh was giving to us, as if President Jammeh was the first thing that ever happened in our communities, as if mankind never existed in the Senegambia region for thousands of years before President Jammeh became a thing. We were scrutinizing the government genuinely as an opposition. We were holding the government accountable, but the people who were in favor at that time were pushing Adama Barrow to increase his salary, to increase the MP salaries allowances, to increase Adama Barrow's salaries and allowances to a point where they even gave him $90 million for him to give to his first lady or the first lady's office so that they can mess about with those funds and play about and frolic around like they've just found a new treasure island. That's what they were doing. Today, All those people who were insulting Lamin Tamba, calling him names, threatening him, calling him a terrorist, they gave me all sorts of names under the sun, threatened to attack me physically. Oh, of course I wasn't afraid. They knew I wasn't afraid. I was not moved. And I, fortunately or unfortunately, have led people all through my life since I was little. I know human psychology. I know why people shout and scream. I know why people call you names. I know why people accuse you falsely because they want you to be silent. But everything we stated that Adama Barrow was going to do is what we're living through right now. So now, why did they speed up this bill and the other bills? Because Adama Barrow knows the minute he introduces the TRRC bill and recommends that charges be advanced against President Jammeh, the chances of him having this bill passed in Parliament would be minimal because there are still MPs in opposition parties, DOI, GDC, UDP, in fact, NPP, and many independents who are not in favor of abrogating the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia and instigating legal proceedings against President Jammeh. So therefore, if they brought bills that were supposed to put President Jammeh in trouble in Parliament, that would have aggrieved several members of the National Assembly. It would have irritated them. It would have riled up several people. And they would have thought, hang on, we not only are we going to defeat this, because remember, in the TRRC recommendations, not just President Jammeh, that National Assembly, the cabinet, their relatives, their loved ones are in that TRRC bill, and they've been recommended for prosecution. President Jammeh is the headline act, but there are several other people in there who were implicated, well, who were mentioned adversely, and the white paper upheld those recommendations. So therefore, for Parliament to pass that, President Jammeh is the headline act, but there are several of them who have their relatives, friends, family members in those adverse mentions. They would have refused to pass the TRRC bill. And then subsequently, with that anger and resentment, they would have gone on to reject this Former Preidents Act amendment. So now they had to rush this. So Barrow's got what he wants. He's rubbing his hands with glee. He's happy. Barrow's got a luxury retirement. Well, Barrow, you see the same thing you did to ignore constitutional provisions under Section 69 of the 1997 Constitution. The same thing you did to ignore Schedule 2, Paragraph 13, subparagraphs 1 to 5, that gave the military junta immunity. Section 69 further gave President Jammeh a civilian president immunity. You violated those constitutional provisions to pursue President Jammeh because you can, because you got the power, because you don't care. Now, unfortunately, Barrow, your departure is on the horizon. You're gazing at it. You're staring at the barrel. Yes, your departure is on the horizon. You're staring at the barrel of defeat. Within 2 years, you'll be sweating, Adama Barrow, if you're lucky to be there within 2 years, because the way Gambia is going, the amount of struggle that you're putting on Gambian people unnecessarily, who knows? No, I'm not praying for an overthrow. No constitutional or unconstitutional change of power. But the pressure could come from the public. And the public are the people who propped Adama Barrow. They're the people propping the government. They said it's a government of the people, by the people, for the people. What we have in the Gambia is a government of the people, by the people, but not for the people. Government is doing nothing for the people. We have a fisheries crisis, we have an electricity crisis, environmental crisis, water crisis, telecommunications crisis, security crisis. Nothing in the Republic of the Gambia right now is excelling. No sector is excelling. Now, the Justice Minister said President Jammeh is wanted. What is a wanted man in the legal context? Now, let me break that down to you to small pieces so that you guys can understand. President Jammeh, first and foremost, is not a wanted man. Now, a man only becomes wanted when he's being charged or called in by the police to charge him, because the police are the charging authority for all criminal offenses. Criminal code. The police are the charging authority. They're the ones that would charge President Jammeh for the alleged criminal offenses he committed. And in all Commonwealth jurisdictions, and indeed almost the world over, one is innocent until proven guilty. Going by the speed of the current judiciary of the Gambia when it comes to criminal matters, especially ones as complicated as hearsay in terms of President Jammeh, or he said, or he gave me executive order with no solid evidence, with no evidence beyond reasonable doubt. The trial of President Jammeh could last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or will forever be inconclusive. All right? So somebody only becomes wanted when he's charged by the police or called in by the police for questioning and refused to turn up, or the police went to arrest them and they fled, or they weren't there. Then they would take the matter to court and get a court order that gives the police a warrant of arrest or an arrest warrant. Then he becomes wanted because he's out of the jurisdiction, or he refused to cooperate with the authorities, or he's fled. Then he becomes wanted. At this stage, that has not happened. The recommendation of the TRRC and the white paper upholding it are just recommendations. They are not court orders. They are not charges. Charges have not been laid before a competent court yet. And as it stands, if we comply with the legislation that's available in the Republic of the Gambia, President Jammeh will not be charged under any law in the Republic of the Gambia. And indeed, their white masters have been fooling them that they could prosecute President Jammeh, the Americans, the Smith guy and the Brody guy. They indeed came out and said, under the current legal framework in the Republic of the Gambia, President Jammeh cannot be prosecuted. And that's because the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia made it categorically clear that there are immunity provisions in the Constitution that insulate President Jammeh and Adama Barrow and President Jawara from any legal proceedings or facing any commission of inquiry. Therefore, what legal basis or on what grounds is the Justice Minister of the Gambia now going to make President Jammeh a wanted man? On what legal foundations? The Justice Minister of the Gambia, who I'd rather call the Injustice Minister, because that's what he's all about. His department has put Gambia's legal system for sale. The highest bidder walks away with murder, literally. And this has happened repeatedly. We've seen it. Drugs offenses, murder cases. If you're connected with the government, you walk away with murder, literally. President Jammeh is not a wanted man, has never been a wanted man. Under the current legal framework in the Gambia, he'll not be a wanted man unless the Constitution has been amended, went through referendum, and people voted for the amendment that sought to repeal all those immunity clauses. Until those clauses are repealed, it remains categorically clear. And it's conspicuous in our Constitution. These sections are not hidden. They're not written in Shakespearean language or biblical language. They're written in simple English text format with very simple and easy to interpret. But Barrow, you violated those constitutional provisions, or you allowed people who advise you to violate them. You are on the brink of facing the same precedents that you've set, Adama Barrow. Your Justice Minister is digging a hole for you. So it's giving you that big, fat, juicy bone in water as a dog standing by the riverbank. You see a big, fat, juicy bone in water, all right? You have a bone in your mouth, Adama Barrow, which is just this former president's bill that's just been given to you. You have a big bone in your mouth. You're chewing that big bone in your mouth. But that bone is not reality. It's virtual. The bone you're seeing in water that you're just about to jump on, which is the former president's bill or Former Preidents Act, you're standing by the riverbank. You have a bone in your mouth right now, and you think the bone in the water is juicier, is fatter, is bigger for you. So therefore, you, Adama Barrow, you're going to spit that bone and then jump and try and get the one in the water, which is just a reflection of the bone in your mouth, but looks bigger in water. And then for that reason, for that greed that you've demonstrated from day one, Adama Barrow, since you went into office, You got a bone in your mouth. It's reflecting in water. Looks bigger now. You got the Former Presidents Act, which is giving you more luxuries. You think the bone in the water is bigger. But that bone in the water is the bone that's actually in your mouth. It just got magnified as a shadow of it or a reflection in water. You drop the real bone, you go for the bone in water, and then you lose both. That's what the justice minister, the injustice minister, is trying to do to you. He's gone in, given you a big fat retirement pension benefit, and said, oh, President Jammeh cannot benefit from it because he's a wanted man. He's been recommended for prosecution. Barrow should be thinking, what are you going to prosecute President Jammeh under? What? Hang on. That's what a clever person should have been thinking about right now, Adama Barrow. A clever head of state would be thinking, hang on, under what laws are you going to prosecute President Jammeh? Now, this is dangerous. Because if President Jammeh is a wanted man, and he's been recommended for prosecution, but he's not been charged, he's not actually wanted, and they want to forfeit his benefits for that reason. Therefore, when I leave office, my successor could do exactly the same, and I'll be entitled to none of that big, fatty, juicy bone that I saw in the water. I dropped my bone, went for the one in the water, and suddenly I have no bone. He said President Jammeh is wanted. For what? Where? This is a legally minded person, the Minister of Injustice, talking as if he's just graduated from high school. Oh, he's a wanted man. Actually, listen to this now. I'll tell you how pension benefits work and allowances. Okay? Depending on which country you go to, because the laws are different. In the United Kingdom, they're different. In other countries, they're different. In fact, in the United States, almost 15 to 30 states have got different pension benefit in terms of people who are convicted of criminal offenses. Bear in mind that President Jammeh is not convicted yet. And in the Gambia and many Commonwealth jurisdictions, is innocent until proven guilty. That's the notion. That's the principle. So President Jammeh is innocent right now. Until the day his convictions have been read out, he should be getting his full entitlements at the moment. All of it. From the 21st of January, because the salaries get paid. 21st of February, because salaries get paid in arrears. He should be getting his full benefits. Until the day the convictions have been read out, if they will ever be read out, because the constitution needs to be changed, that referendum needs to have 75% or more people voting in favor of a new constitution. And the power that we, the APRC people, have, there's no way we're going to pass any constitution that's going to put the former head of state in trouble, unless, of course, it turns out that he actually carried out some of these acts, or he was part of the planning and had full knowledge and supported it. At the moment, there's no such evidence. It's hearsay. Oh, we had an executive order to go and do that. And when TRRC witnesses were asked, hang on, you keep saying executive order from the president. You keep saying executive. Have you actually spoken to President Jammeh? No, I haven't spoken to him. I was told that he passed the executive orders to my bosses, and they told me executive orders, and I went and carried out the act without actually verifying whether this order was actually an executive order from President Jammeh. They asked two witnesses the same. They asked Harry Sambu. They asked Malik Jatta, have you spoken to President Jammeh? He says, no, I heard Tumbul Tamba on the phone saying, yes, sir, yes, boss. How do you know these people were not bluffing on the phone, pretending to be speaking to President Jammeh because somebody just once saw them walking along with President Jammeh? Somebody just once heard them talking to President Jammeh, and suddenly they thought, now I've got power. People think I'm close to President Jammeh. People now know I've got associations with President Jammeh. People now know I'm working with President Jammeh, or I've spoken to him before. Therefore, I'll abuse my power. Hey, somebody is chasing after the girl that I like, right? Let's go and deal with him. Arrest him, put him in a cell somewhere, and then claim that it's an executive order. Or somebody has done this to me, has done that. Let's go and finish him. Let's go and eliminate him and claim that it's an executive order. The bluff game, the pretension of an executive order coming from the president himself. Unfortunately, as a former trainee solicitor with 14 years experience of being in criminal defense, a lot of stuff I heard was TRRC, and I hear people saying, doesn't cut it in a competent court of law in terms of criminal law. Now, but we know what Gambia is. As I said earlier, Gambia's justice is nothing but a justice system. Yes, we all know. We all see these murder cases that people committed and walked away from court free, like nothing has happened before. So now he's saying, "Oh, President Jammeh wanted Barrow. This is your own grave that's been dug because President Jammeh is thousands of miles away. He'll be the last one they'll lay the glove on. Last one they'll lay the glove on. You are on Gambian soil. The day you walk out of that state house, the day they'll bundle you up and put you in mile 2. And then because you're in mile 2, a wanted person, you'll get zero of these benefits that look attractive right now. But they're beyond your reach because you, Adama Barrow, your government, like President Jammeh's government, has got massive allegations against you. And we're not going to say, oh, Adama Barrow was not like that. He wouldn't have given the order to do it. Because Adama Barrow came out and was pumping his chest. He was telling us how he gassed the 3 years Jotna protesters, how he beat them up, how he made them feel that a bag of salt is heavy. That's what Adama Barrow did. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the position we found ourselves in today. The Justice Minister is malinforming, misinforming, disinforming the public, as if he's never sat in a law class before. President Jammeh is not wanted. You haven't charged him. Recommendations of a commission are just recommendations. You need to go the next stage to lay your charges before the court by using the police, because the police are the authority that charges people for criminal offenses in the Gambia. Have they charged him yet? No. Has the matter been to court yet? No. How did he become wanted? You sent him summons to come and appear before a law court? No, because he can't even do that in the Gambia. There's no competent court, no jurisdiction in the Gambia that's going to try him if we are being honest and we fear God and we follow the laws that have been written to guide our public institutions. That's the Constitution, Section 69, Schedule 2, Paragraph 13, subparagraphs 1 to 5, has set roadblocks on all attempts, any attempt to drag an ex or serving president of the Republic of the Gambia to court. But Barrow, if you want, you can set precedents. Your days are numbered now. You can set precedents. You can go ahead and prosecute President Jammeh. It might seem attractive to you now politically, but it won't very soon. Very soon, President Jammeh is miles away. You're next door. Your choice. You call it. So now they're going to introduce the TRRC bill because that fat, juicy bone that Barrow saw in water, which turned out to be the small bone that was in his mouth, but was magnified by the mirror effect of the water. Now, that fat, juicy bone will be beyond his reach very soon. His days are numbered. Barrow is on a countdown now. He knows it. That's why he's planning his exit strategy. But what he doesn't realize, that if he allows some of the government officials, the justice minister and the people in his government to succeed in what they're setting up, that fat, juicy bone that he saw in water would suddenly become his biggest nightmare. It'll be a horror show. He'll be in mile 2 before you know it. Now, having mentioned that, we go to Section 67 of the 1997 Constitution of the Gambia and see what it says about who cannot benefit from these pension benefits and other privileges that Adama Barrow and his cronies just passed in the House of Parliament. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, our National Assembly is compromised to a very large extent as well. Now, already Barrow and his NPP have simple majority because they vote over the independent MPs. So when something comes into Parliament that requires just a simple majority, we can't do much about it. We can cry and shriek and yelp all we want, but there's not much we can do about it because they have a simple majority. The only problems Adama Barrow will have in the National Assembly is where 2/3 or 3/4 majority is required to pass a law, which unfortunately is what's required to impeach him or to amend some constitutional clauses or provisions. So he doesn't have that majority now. He just has a simple majority of 30 or 31 MPs. Those ones can decide to vote for anything that he brings to parliament. And Barrow doesn't bring anything to parliament that's to the benefit of the Gambian people. The anti-corruption bill is still dragging on. Other pieces of legislation are still being ignored because those ones are not lucrative. They don't put money in people's pockets. They don't give them new materials. So the 1997 Constitution, Section 67, let me read it for you. And Section 68, I'll read as well. Let me open it. Where is it? 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. Okay, there it is. Let me go straight to Section 67 and read what it says. Who can have those benefits? Who can? So Adam Barrow plots against President Jammeh. That plot, unfortunately, Adam Barrow, you'll be the one that suffers from that same plot. You're setting a booby trap for yourself. And I'm warning you, I've been warning you, you're allowing your officials to drag you into that pit to basically breach the constitutional provisions for political grandstanding. All right? They want to appeal to the world, appeal to certain sections of community in the Gambia that yes, we're going to go and prosecute President Jammeh, knowing fully well, even the American masters, because they treat these Westerners as masters. But we all seeing what the West is all about. There's no democracy in the West. In fact, yesterday there was election fraud in the United States, and the courts ruled that the fraud was ridiculous. They've never seen anything like this. But that's been happening in the United States since year 2000. We've seen what's happening in Palestine. What sort of democracy are we seeing? All right. But anyway, I don't want to go outside of the Former Preidents Act. So, Section 67 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. All right. So, that sets out why a president, an ex-president, a former president, will not benefit from the privileges that have been stated in the Former Preidents Act 2006, amended in 2023. All right. So, now, number one of that Section 67. Section 67 says misconduct by the president. The president may be removed from office in accordance with this section on any of the following grounds. One, abuse of office. Adam Barrow, that's why I said you should pray that you go until 2026 without being removed from office. Abuse of office. So, okay, let me go back. Section 67, subsection 1. The president may be removed from office in accordance with this section on any of the following grounds. The grounds are A, abuse of office, willful violation of the oath of allegiance or the president's oath of office, or willful violation of any provision of this constitution, or B, misconduct in that, subsection 1 of B, he or she has conducted himself in a manner which brings or is likely to bring the office of president into contempt or disrepute. Subsection 2 of B, he or she has dishonestly done any act which is prejudicial or inimical to the economy of the Gambia, or dishonestly omitted to act with similar consequences. How many times has Adam Barrow done that? He's taken our fisheries and their licenses and given them to Senegal. Our cashew trade has been embargoed by Senegal. Our energy sector is almost entirely dependent on Senegal and car power. A very dangerous act to commit in terms of the sovereignty of the state, the economy of the state, because all Senegal needs to do is cut the electricity supply to the Gambia and our economy caves in. All right? And several other acts that Adam Barrow has done. All right. So, number 2 of Section 67, where the Speaker receives a notice in writing signed by no less than one half of all of the National Assembly members of a motion for the removal of the President or on any of the grounds set out in subsection 1, specifying particulars of the allegations with any necessary documentation. Remember, I said Adama Barrow can be removed before 2026. So this subsection 2 of section 67 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia says, where the Speaker receives a notice in writing signed by no less than one half of all the members of the National Assembly of a motion for the removal of the president on any grounds set out in subsection 1, specifying particulars of the allegation with any necessary documentation and requesting that a tribunal be appointed to investigate allegations, the Speaker shall A. Inform the President of the notice, B. Request the Chief Justice to appoint a tribunal consisting of a Justice of the Supreme Court as chairman, and not less than 4 other persons selected by the Chief Justice, at least 2 of whom shall be persons who hold or have held high judicial office. 3. The tribunal shall investigate the matter and shall report to the National Assembly through the Speaker whether or not it finds the allegations specified in the motion have been substantiated. The President shall have the right to appear and be legally represented before the tribunal. 4. If the tribunal reports to the National Assembly that it finds that the particulars of any allegation against the President contained in the motion have not been substantiated, no further proceedings shall be taken under this section in respect of that allegation. 5. Where the tribunal reports to the National Assembly that it finds that the particulars of any such allegation have been substantiated, the National Assembly may, on a motion supported by the votes of no less than 2/3 of all the members, I mentioned 2/3 before, resolve that the President has been guilty of such abuse of office, violation of oath, violation of the Constitution, or misconduct or misbehavior as to render him or her unfit to continue to hold the office of President. And where the National Assembly so resolves, the President shall immediately cease to hold office. So this is the danger that Adama Barrow faces and can be removed before 2026 election. And he will not get anything in terms of the benefits named in the schedule of the Former Preidents Act 2006, amended in 2023. All right? So salary, Section 68, as I promised, of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. I promised to read that section for you as well, so you can listen to it. It sets out the framework. So 67 and 68 set out the framework for the act of the former president's office that we read earlier. So Section 68 of the Constitution. 1. The President shall receive such salary and allowances as may be prescribed by an act of National Assembly. So the National Assembly has just passed the act, amended it, to say that the President should have a salary equal to the one of his successor as his pension, as his monthly allowance, as his monthly salary. All right? That's the predicament we found ourselves in. That's what our National Assembly passed, regrettably. All right? Now, so it says, subsection 1 of Section 68 of the Constitution, the President shall receive salary and allowance as may be prescribed by an act of National Assembly. And such salary and allowance shall not be altered to his or her disadvantage during his or her tenure of office. All right? Should not be altered to his disadvantage. And then after this section, I'll come and explain to you how somebody like President Jammeh, who is falsely wanted, can lose those benefits. All right? The Constitution has already stated this is a president serving in office, Section 67. But we'll talk about where the Justice Minister of the Gambia found his legal grounding to say that President Jammeh cannot benefit from it. Section 67 is about a president serving who will be kicked out of office by 2/3 majority vote in the National Assembly. President Jammeh has gone beyond that. So Section 67 cannot affect President Jammeh. So therefore, the Justice Minister of the Gambia needs to tell us under what Gambian laws of the Gambia, will a president cease to benefit from his pensions and other allowances and other benefits that he's entitled to after leaving office? He needs to tell us that. Some countries have them. In the United Kingdom, you have laws where certain benefits a convict, a prisoner will lose. All right? Pensions will not be one of them wholly. Maybe part of the pension you might lose where the state is contributing. I'll come to that in a minute. But let me read Section 68 and finish it. I read subsection 1 of Section 68. Subsection 2 of Section 68. The President shall be entitled to such pension and retirement benefits as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly. And such pension and other benefits shall not be altered to his or her disadvantage after he or she has relinquished office. Hallelujah. Alhamdulillah. Thank God. So now, the Justice Minister needs to tell us there's a caveat. Okay, I'll read that. That's a caveat. All right. Okay, I'll read that in a minute. So, Section 68, subsection 2 said the president should not lose those benefits, should not be altered, should not be reduced to his disadvantage after he or she has relinquished office, provided that no such pension or other retirement benefits shall be granted to a president who ceases to hold office in accordance with Section 67. So Section 67 will not affect President Jammeh. But Barrow is still vulnerable. He's susceptible to Section 67. We could just suddenly kick him out of office, and he will not get any of those benefits that the Justice Ministry just took to Parliament and got passed. President Jammeh will not suffer from it. He's not in office anymore. So that Section 67 will not affect him. But Adam Barrow could be affected by that Section 67. It depends on the game that the opposition puts forward to remove Adam Barrow from power before 2026 elections. Subsection 3 of Section 68. All right? The salary and allowances and pension and retirement benefits as prescribed by an act of the National Assembly shall be exempted from taxation, but the president shall be subject to taxation on all other chargeable income. So the pensions benefits will not be taxed. But if President Barrow goes and runs a business like Manjum Estate by letting properties, or President Jammeh starts running Kanilai family farm on a commercial business other than agriculture, he will pay tax on his income on that, but not his benefits as an ex-president. Subsection 4 of Section 68, subsection 4. The president shall not, A, while he or she continues in office as president, hold any other office of profit or emolument, whether public or private, occupy any other position carrying the right of remuneration for the rendering of services, or directly or indirectly carry on any trade, business, or other undertaking, provided that the president may undertake and carry any agricultural business, including farming, horticulture, livestock rearing, and artisanal fishing, which is what President Jammeh was doing. All right. B, that's that one. If you do farming, horticulture, livestock rearing, and fishing, that's fine as a president. You can carry out businesses like that, but you cannot be a letting agent. You cannot be an estate agent. You cannot run a commercial company where you're going to get profits from. You can't do that as a serving president. Subsection 4 of Section 68, B. Subsection B. The president shall not undertake any activity inconsistent with his or her official position, or expose himself or herself to any situation which carries with it the risk of a conflict developing between his or her official concerns and his or her private interests. So no running of private businesses or doing anything that brings your office into conflict. All right? Subsection 5 of Section 68. Where a person who has ceased to hold office or perform the functions of president is a party to any legal proceedings, any period during which such person was immune from proceedings under the section. Thank God this has been mentioned now. Listen to this. Section 68, subsection 5 says, this is the most important part now. Listen, very important. We know Section 68 doesn't apply to President Jammeh. We know lots of the Section 67 doesn't apply to President Jammeh. Section 68, all other parts do not apply to President Jammeh. Now, subsection 5 of Section 68. Listen to this carefully. I'm going to read it slowly. All right? I'm going to read it very slowly because this is the final part of Section 68. It says, where a person who has ceased to hold or perform the functions of president. So now that's President Jammeh now. If President Jawara was alive, this subsection 5 of Section 68 will apply to him too, because he ceased to hold office. President Jammeh has ceased to hold office. Now listen, I'll read it again. Where a person who has ceased to hold or perform the functions of president, example, President Jawara and President Jammeh, is a party to any legal proceedings. Is a party to any legal proceedings. President Jawara is none of it right now. President Jammeh is none of it right now. They are not parties to any legal proceedings. Any period during which such person was immune from proceedings under this section shall not be counted for the purposes of applying any rule regarding the limitation of actions. Yes. Where's the Justice Minister of the Republic of the Gambia? So this says, where President Jammeh is a party to any legal proceedings, any period during which such person was immune from proceedings under this section, and President Jammeh is immune, Schedule 2, Paragraph 13, subparagraphs 1 to 5 of the 1997 Constitution, and then Section 69, which Barrow used at one point to cover himself from prosecution. Barrow used it, yes. His lawyer cited that section when we submitted the election petition in 2021. But that Section 69 applies to everything except election petition. Election petition is exempt from the immunities of a president. So now, this is very important. That's why I said to you, pay attention to the Justice Minister, Injustice Minister of the Gambia. He doesn't talk like a legal mind, doesn't talk like he sat in a law class or a law school. So it says, again, that's the last thing I'm going to read for you in this Constitution. Subsection 5 of Section 68 of the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, 1997. Where a person has ceased to hold or perform the functions of president, is a party to any legal proceedings, any period during which such a person was immune from proceedings. Immune from proceedings under this section shall not be counted for the purposes of applying any rule regarding the limitation of actions. So you cannot limit President Jammeh's benefits as far as this constitution is concerned just because he's a party to any legal proceedings. He's already immune to them. So what grounding, on what grounds are you going to deny President Jammeh from getting the luxurious pension benefits that Adama Barrow and his people just passed in Parliament? On what grounds? Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know what Section 69 says, because I've read Section 69, I analyzed it several times, but I'll do it one more time. That's the section that gives ex-presidents and serving presidents immunity. And Schedule 2, Paragraph 13, subparagraphs 1 to 5, gave the military junta total immunity between 22nd July 1994 and 19th of January 1997. All right? So Section 69, immunity from civil proceedings, civil and criminal proceedings, civil criminal proceedings, a head of state serving an ex, except as provided in subsection 2, no civil or criminal proceedings shall be instituted or continued against any person while holding or performing the functions of office of president in respect of anything done or omitted or be done by him or her, whether in an official or a private capacity. That's Section 69, immunity to the serving president. Nothing in subsection 1 applies to an action for a declaration under Section 5, enforcement of the Constitution, and any proceedings under that section against the president or a person performing the functions of that office shall be brought against him or by his or her official title or style, and he or she shall appear and be represented by the Attorney General. So the president cannot appear, right? If you ask the president to go, the Attorney General can. But you're not suing the president, all right? If there's any matter that the president needs to answer to in Parliament or other places, the Attorney General can appear on their behalf as long as it's not a prosecution, civil or criminal prosecution. Number 3, after a president has vacated the office of president, so now we're talking about President Jammeh, subsection 3 of Section 69. After a president has vacated the office of president, A, no court may entertain any action against him or her in any civil proceedings in respect of any act done in his or her official capacity as president. No court may entertain any action against him or her. No court may entertain. So therefore, this act has taken the jurisdiction away from any court in Gambia. No court. So that's subsection A of subsection 3 of section 69. So subsection B. A criminal court shall only have jurisdiction to entertain proceedings against him or her in respect of acts or omissions alleged to have been perpetrated by him or her while holding office as president, if the National Assembly has resolved on a motion supported by not less than 2/3 of all the members that such proceedings are justified in the public interest. But the National Assembly has not done that. The National Assembly of the Gambia has not passed a law to say that President Jammeh should be prosecuted. And in the National Assembly, there will be 2/3 majority to be able to instigate this sort of legal action. Will NPP MPs want Barrow to face this? No. Would APRC MPs want Barrow to face this? No. So therefore, the realistic prospects of this act being passed by 2/3 majority in the National Assembly are close to zero. Nil. The chances are nil. It's not going to happen. That's section 69 and its subsections. Yeah? Subsections 1, 2, 3, and 2 subsections to section 3. So now, the Minister of Injustice, Dauda Jallow. On what legal basis? Knowing fully well that your American masters, because you people believe that somebody who's got a different skin color is a god, they're saviors. What they tell you is what's going to happen. They told you under the current legal framework in the Gambia, you can't prosecute President Jammeh. You can't prosecute President Barrow. You can't posthumously prosecute President Jawara, because the foundations in our constitution have been laid to insulate them from legal proceedings and commissions of inquiries. But you violated the same section 69. You violated Schedule 2, paragraph 13, subparagraphs 1 to 5 to investigate the military junta. You violated those sections to prosecute Yankuba Toure because you had the power. You ignored what the constitution said. You ignored what the laws of the Gambia said to instigate legal proceedings against Yankuba Toure, against President Jammeh and Barrow. Unfortunately, you set those legal precedents. You pray, Adam Barrow, start praying now that the next person to take over from you respects the laws of the Gambia. Without that, you, Barrow, will be worse than any treatment that President Jawara, President Jammeh, or any other president of the Republic of the Gambia would ever face, because you, Barrow, the corruption in your government is blatant. It was evident. It's conspicuous. It's clearly seen on billboards on the high street how corrupt your government is. Remember the 70 children that your government killed via poisonous medicine made in pharmaceuticals. Remember the Faraba shootings, the Kanilai shootings. Remember that Alassane Akoli died in a bedroom at State House, next to your bedroom, Adam Obaro, not far from your bedroom. All these things have been unresolved cases that you'll have to face. Now, you carry on, set the precedent. Let your justice minister dig a hole for you. All right? If I had time, I would have read Schedule 2, paragraph 13, so paragraphs 1 to 5. Let me see if I can breeze through them quickly. Yeah? Schedule 2, right at the end of the Constitution of the Gambia, 1997. And if any of you thinks I'm reading the wrong thing, please know that I'm not misleading anyone. I don't mislead people. All right? I don't want to beat about and praise myself, but I did very well academically in constitutional law. I'll not tell you the score. It's the highest score you'll ever achieve in constitutional law, as far as university grading is concerned. Now, this is Schedule 2, paragraph 13, subparagraphs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? So now, let me read them. These are entrenched clauses in the Constitution. You can't change them. You can only change them via a referendum. Let me read them. Paragraph 13, legal proceedings. 1. So paragraph 1. No member of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council, any person appointed minister by the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council, or other appointees of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council, none of them shall be held liable or answerable before a court or authority or under this Constitution or any other law, either jointly or severally, for an act or omission in the performance of his or her official duties. Subparagraph 2. After the coming into force of this Constitution, it shall not be lawful by any court or tribunal to entertain any action or take any decision or make any order or grant any remedy or relief in any proceedings instituted against the government of the Gambia or any person acting under the authority of the government of the Gambia or against any person or persons acting in concert or individually to assist or bring about the change in government which took place on the 22nd day of July 1994 in respect of any act or omission relating to or consequent upon subsection A of subsection 2, the overthrow of the government in power before the formation of the Armed Forces Ruling Council. You can't bring any action against President Jammeh or the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council. Subsection B of subsection 2, the suspension or abrogation of the Constitution of the Gambia 1970. You can't bring any action. The establishment of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council. You can't bring any action. The establishment of this Constitution. You can't bring any action. Subsection 3 of Section 13, Schedule 2. For the avoidance of doubt, it is declared that no actions taken or purported to have been taken in the exercise of the executive, legislative, or judicial power by the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council, or a member thereof, or by any person appointed by the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council in the named forces of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council, except judges of the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal, shall be questioned in any proceedings. Yankuba Toure said that to Esa Fall. They ignored him because they had the power, they can abuse it. They abused it. They went ahead and prosecuted him illegally. So he shall not be questioned in any proceedings whatsoever. And accordingly, it shall not be lawful for any court or tribunal to make any order or grant any remedy or relief in respect of any such act. Subsection 4 of paragraph 13. The provisions of subparagraph 3 shall have effect notwithstanding any such action and is referred to in that subparagraph was not taken in accordance with any procedure prescribed by law. Subsection 5 of paragraph 13 of Schedule 2. It shall not be lawful for any court or tribunal to entertain an action instituted in respect of an act or omission against a person acting or omitting to act on the instructions or authority of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council or a member thereof, and alleged to be in contravention of any law, whether substantive or procedural, in existence before or during the administration of the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council. Remember, this was passed by referendum by over 75% of Gambian population, voting age population. They voted for this. It was there since August 1996. I remember Amnesty International writing about these clauses that the Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council, AFPRC, are going to escape with impunity. They have been indemnified. None of them is going to face any of the actions that they did. So therefore, the Gambian population must not vote for the draft constitution, which was voted in by the Gambian population in August 1996. I was not of the voting age by August 1996. So therefore, I didn't vote. I didn't have a voter's card. I couldn't vote in that referendum. But people voted for it. Amnesty International and other bodies, human rights watch bodies in the Gambia were campaigning against this clause. So nobody can say they subsequently amended the constitution to insert these clauses, as I see some people bandy about. That's false. All right? So now, those are the 5 subsections. You can't change them. Preservation of confiscation and penalties imposed by the Armed Forces Professional Ruling Council. You can't do anything about it. Change the constitution. Until that constitution is changed, Minister of Injustice Dauda Jallo, President Jammeh is not wanted because you cannot charge him under any laws in the Gambia. You will be abrogating the constitution. It's the same as me taking a rifle to go and overthrow Adama Barrow tomorrow. That's what you'd be doing to the constitution of the Gambia when you sought to instigate legal proceedings against President Jammeh. And you know it. You know it. Your American masters have told you that you can't. Now you're trying to set up a hybrid court. On what basis? It's like the International Criminal Court. It has no legal grounding. You can't effectively prosecute anyone at ICC. They were just intimidating African leaders and few leaders from the Eastern European bloc. No European prime minister or president is going to go to the ICC. Nicolas Sarkozy is free. David Cameron is free. Barack Obama is free. Bill Clinton is free. George Bush is free. All right? None of them is going to go to the ICC. They just set it up to intimidate African heads of state and the less powerful states, like the Eastern European bloc. They have no legal grounding. Laws, criminal laws in the world have to be tried based on the jurisdiction where the crime was committed. That's how criminal law works. You can't set a castle in the sky and say, oh, we're going to make the rules for it, even though the crime was not committed on that land or in that castle in the sky. If I commit a crime in the United States and I run to the United Kingdom, they cannot charge me for that crime. They can arrest me and extradite me to the United States to face those charges. The only time the United Kingdom will charge me if that part of that offense had something to do with the United Kingdom. If it had nothing to do with the United Kingdom, I slapped someone in America and ran away, United Kingdom is not going to charge me for it here. The Americans will charge me, go through warrant applications, get a warrant of arrest, apply for an extradition order, and then they'll send it to the United Kingdom. Then the United Kingdom will send me over. The International Criminal Court is just a bluff. It's an intimidation machinery for African heads of state. Which Western head of state ever went to the ICC? Haven't the Western governments killed over 20 million people since World War II? Which of them ever went to the ICC? Have they ever been charged? When the former prosecutor of ICC, Fatoumata Bensouda, tried to investigate American crimes in Afghanistan, what did they do? They banned him from flying to America. They revoked his visa, or not his, her visa. They banned her from traveling to the United States. The United States openly said they're not subscribing to the International Criminal Court. They will not be made answerable. Israel will not be made answerable to the International Criminal Court. So who would? African people. Us, because we are slaves. We admit to everything that they bring to us without even looking at the form and substance. But I'm glad we're all waking up now. The African continent is waking up. The conflict in Ukraine, the conflict in Palestine, the conflict in Libya has woken up the African people. The Arab Spring has woken up the African people. Like me knew since 2000 that democracy didn't actually exist. I knew democracy and the United Nations died in 2003 after the invasion of Iraq. The United Nations died, democracy died. Democracy started suffering in the United States since 2001 when I started realizing that all these democratic values that they were talking about were just a control tool. American election was rigged against Al Gore, and he lost that because of it. American elections were rigged as of this week. We saw in their courts. The cradle of democracy, the free world. But Barrow and his people can breach the laws if they want. Barrow, you set your precedents. You see this lucrative deal that you set for yourself? When you retire, that deal will be forfeited from you if you do the same to President Jammeh. Go and pay President Jammeh his dues. You can hate President Jammeh all you want. You have the opportunity to amend the Constitution. You amend the Constitution, Barrow, you fall into that hole in the same place. Why didn't UDP under Ousainou Darboe amend the Constitution and take it to referendum in 2017 straight away? Because they knew doing that is a catastrophe for the serving government. They won't. But they're telling you to go and change those because you now got power and they want to lay a glove on your forehead, knock you out. You're trying to do that to President Jammeh. You're allowing your officials like Dauda Jallo, who doesn't talk like a lawyer. You're allowing him to do that so you can left hook President Jammeh and knock him out, you're not going to lay a glove on President Jammeh under the current legal framework. You've been told that by your American masters. But you're trying. You want to set a hybrid court. But the hybrid court, you'll be the first one to go in there. You and Macky Sall. You'll be the first people to go to the hybrid court. I'll tell you that. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, as I said before, on my Facebook wall, on my YouTube channel, I have no desire to mislead Gambian people. I have no desire to lie to Gambian people. I have partisan politics, but I have Gambia first and foremost in all my plans. I want to be part of people who correct the system, change the academic curriculum of the Gambia to make people understand the value of public service, nationalism, patriotism. From nursery school, we need to start indoctrinating our kids to be honest, to have some integrity. That honesty, integrity are values, they are virtues, attributes that somebody can have, and they do reward people. We can't always lie, steal from the public, deceive the people, chase after our selfish interests at the expense of the nation. The time is now for us to start mapping out, figuring out somebody, somewhere, who's got the balls, who's upfront, who's upright, who's a patriot, who loves the Gambian public, who actually means to transform our nation into an admirable nation, a rapidly developing nation, a nation where the lives and livelihoods of people will be transformed significantly within a short space of time. The wealth is there, the sovereign wealth is there. We just need to have somebody who actually cares about the Gambian population. And that person can come and change our politics, change our government. We can all benefit from it. That person, the time is now. It's not Barrow. I said in 2017, the guy is self-serving. They said, oh, he's humble. We all know Lamin Tamba was lying. Now you all are inclined to agree with me. And in that agreement, some of our egos, some of our past bitternesses, we have to put aside and find someone who actually has got what it takes to change our republic, to take it from A to B. We can do it. We just have to forget all those imaginary regions, imaginary tribes, imaginary differences, selfish interests. We need to make sure all that we think about now is the Republic of the Gambia. A president that comes to power will benefit you if he's ready to work, regardless of what region you come from, regardless of what tribe you come from, regardless of your gender, your age, your cultural underpinnings, your religion. All those things are imaginary. You can't see me today and you see Jola written on my face, or Mandinka written on my face, or Fula, or I'm a Muslim, or I'm a Christian. You will not know unless I tell you. Those things are insignificant. Sometimes somebody who you're opposite to is the one that benefits you the most. Sometimes your own relatives will not look after you. It's people outside that will come and look after you. Let's think Gambia first. The time is now. We have seen daylight robbery just taking place. Although Barrow has not started benefiting from these generous pension packages, but he will if we're not careful. He will. We can amend the constitution. We can revise it. We can build our country by ourselves. We don't need some different color saviors to come and change our continent, our country. We can change it. We can do it. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, from now on, I'm not prepared to listen to any of those people who are so partisan that they continue chasing individuals. You're chasing after one person. And in the process, you forgot about your nation. We have to be careful. You can chase President Jammeh all you want. He is not Gambia's problem. In fact, President Jammeh was Gambia's best thing that happened, despite all the allegations, despite his shortcomings. So far, he delivered to Gambian people more than 460 years of our recorded history. And that is not in dispute. The only dispute people have now, oh, he's committed crimes, atrocities here and there. He probably did. Who knows? Nobody can prove that right now. As I said earlier, it's hearsay or executive order or this. Did he investigate those things? Yes, we heard at TRRC, lots of panels were set to investigate some of these allegations. It turned out the people who committed the crimes were the ones that were actually investigating the same crimes. Well, President Jammeh wouldn't know. This is why, as a president, it's very important to have very good advisors, people in your cabinet, policymakers. Unfortunately for Barrow, he's never had any. And now his justice minister is digging a pit for him. Go ahead and jump in that pit, Adam, but you'll not come out alive. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I conclude this YouTube live today, the 3rd of November, 2023. Thank you very much for the time you dedicated to come and listen to me, the time you dedicated to come and share with me here live. Take this message, share it, share this link everywhere. It will become important. The law is the law. You don't have to like it, but that's the law. Let's have one way of dealing with it. We shouldn't flip-flop based on who's at the receiving end. All right? This act, Former Preidents Act 2006, is not new. Barrow just added so much beef to it, overloaded it, to the point where it's teetering on the brink of total destruction of our economy. That's what Barrow done to it. It's nothing new. He just overloaded it. It's sitting precariously on a balance. That's what's happening to it now. Can we change it? Yes. Are we going to continue our inter-opposition fight? The jury's out. We'll see. Barrow said the opposition in the Gambia is aimless. He's going to have an easy breeze in 2026. The ball is in our court, the opposition. All right? The choice is ours. Carry on fighting and chasing one person, President Jammeh sitting in Equatorial Guinea comfortably. Chase him. If that's your UDP policy or your DOI policy or your GDC policy, pursue it. But bear that in mind, that if that's your ambition, Gambia caves in with you. We'll find ourselves fighting in a trench to save our country, but it'll be too late. When Prophet Noah was calling people to God's way, the right way, they ignored him. Before they knew it was too late. Too late, brothers and sisters. That's the boat we're at. Our boat is rocky right now. Very rocky. The choice is ours, the Gambian opposition. We've demonstrated with National Assembly elections that we can decapitate the NPP government. We demonstrated in local government elections that we can decapitate the NPP government. But your personal agenda in your political parties is misplaced, is deluded, is unachievable in the current circumstances, legal circumstances in our republic. You will not achieve it. And with that, we collapse together. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I end this Facebook Live. Thank you very much. It's not Facebook Live, YouTube Live. I do Facebook Live very often, but Facebook has censored me. They don't want people to hear the truth. They don't want the world to see my Facebook Lives and my posts. So that's why I'm doing it on YouTube now, and I'll be doing it here consistently. Thank you very much.